Barcelona new star, Chutian's legendary rise begins. Episode 71, Batistuta blasts out of Camp Nou. Courtside. Enrique hugged the players on the bench. They breathed a sigh of relief. Equalizing was a joy. Xavi combination, reproducing the Camp Nou. Even more exciting. The tacit cooperation of the three people dissolved Ma Yuan's high-level oppression. Enrique calmed down a bit and returned his attention to the field. He couldn't imagine what other countermeasures Simeone would have. Atletico players run too often and consume a lot of energy. The game gets later. The better for Barcelona. Simone felt a little uneasy. The cooperation of the three people of Xavi was completely using tacit understanding and personal ability to make Ma Jing's high-ranking oppression ineffective. But he couldn't think of a corresponding strategy at this time. Mad. How this kicks. Barca fans in the stands frantically chanted three names: Messi, Chutian, Iniesta. The deafening sound made countless cameras in the stadium start to shake. Forca Barca. Vamos Barca. The reddish-blue ocean has the Camp Nou. The Barca players didn't celebrate too much. They are united in their will. The equalizer was just the beginning. Chutian put the ball back in the middle circle of the stadium. Just in a quick fit with Messi, Iniesta. His view of God is equally unpredictable, with the positions of the people flickering and the pass lines changing more and more subtle. The game continues. The referee blew the whistle. Griezmann kicked off and passed back to Cork. Cork was a bit physically drained, and in a trance he was cut off by Iniesta. Iniesta passed the ball to Chutian. The game now came to the 55th minute. Next. Chutian glanced at Atletico's defensive line. The other side obviously began to consciously strengthen the stare at Iniesta and Messi for a while without too good a chance. Ma Jing's defensive layering is highlighted again. Can't rush. Chutian slowly combed through the rhythm of the attack. On the one hand, he observed that several Atletico players were gradually becoming physically weak. Simeone has already used 2 substitutions. On the other hand, Chutian was waiting for the other side to make a mistake, revealing the gap in the defensive line. Barca resumed back and forth, passing back and forth. Chutian also reduced his running. Tacitly communicating with Barca teammates World. Waiting to kill. Time passes minute by minute. The Atletico players started to get a little impatient. The defensive range started to be a bit large. The action becomes rough. In particular, Iniesta was hit many times and turned over on his back. Barca fans in the stands began booing. This is undoubtedly to make the referee start to face the test. Any less open hands, loud complaints. The referee signaled that the Atletico player had not fouled. Their movements are a bit big, but at present, it is indeed a reasonable collision, a reasonable shovel. Atletico are playing against Real Madrid, as well as against Premier League teams. Small movements are frequent. It will be called dirty by the opposing fans. But in the past 13 years, Atletico have only ranked 13th in the number of red and yellow cards they have received in La Liga. Against Barca. Atletico's backline is still relatively iron-blooded and will not be dirty. Because of Jimenez and Godin, they are both fans of Messi. Goalkeeper Oblak, in particular, has been the player who has scored the most goals in his career. In public, the Atletico doorman never skimps on praise for Messi. In 2015, Atletico's backline against Messi's defense is very clean, really cannot defend, at most with their hands, absolutely will not put down the shovel. There are only 2 exceptions. Cork and Saul. In Chutian's memories of his previous life, these 2 men were the most vicious Atletico players who had maliciously assaulted Messi. Sure enough. The game came to the 60th minute. Xavi's physical fitness began to decline. The running speed began to slow down. Chutian saw the gap. Speed up now. The whole Barca is also starting to speed up. As soon as he passed the ball to Iniesta, he stepped forward. Iniesta, croquettes, got rid of Saul and Luis. Oblique transmission found Chutian. Chutian saw the opportunity and touched the ball with one foot. Straight to Messi. Messi received the ball and began to break through. Kill into the hinterland of the other side. Godin's single defense is somewhat unstoppable. I am about to get lost in Messi's changing cadence. Cork put the shovel directly from the rear of the side. Messi let out a scream. Fell to the ground in pain. The audience booed. Beep. The referee blew the whistle. Step forward immediately. Showed a yellow card to Cork. Cork's move is big. Put the shovel down from Messi's side back. Messi looks miserable. Xian's tone was a little worried. Cork didn't budge, leaned down to Messi, and yelled, "Don't think about stalling." Chutian saw the scene. "The first time I walked up. Push Cork away. This one." Ignited the powder kegs of Atletico players. Saul and Gleiman rushed up first. Gabby and Lewis followed. They surrounded the Yenwa teenagers with fierce faces. Chutian was not afraid, and his expression was calm. Barca's teammates also rushed over. Players from both sides start pushing at each other. Ma Jing's side is targeting Chutian. Because of this foul on Cork, it caused a mess. The referee and assistant referee are also up. Xian's tone became anxious. Enrique frowned and walked over to the fourth referee in protest. Simone roared wildly at the field. The fans in the stands were also frantically protesting. The chaos soon subsided. Players from both sides scattered. Messi eased the pain a little and got up. The referee showed Chutian a yellow card. Xian's tone was inexplicably a little excited, and he smiled and said, "Audience friends. This is the first yellow card of a Yenwa player in La Liga. This is also a moment recorded in the history of Yenwa football." CTV5 Live Room. The barrage takes off. Chutian gang, when facing Atletico players. Not at all. Haha, this kid can really there are things dare to go on, haha. At a historic moment, Xian is about to become Chufu. "I am Chu Chub too." The referee pulled out the spray. At the spot where Messi was fouled. About 28 meters from the goal. Draw a white line in the shape of a U-shape. Atletico goalkeeper Oblak looked sideways and loudly instructed his teammates to adjust the wall. The Barca players are also in a good position. Iniesta and Messi stood at the penalty spot and whispered how to take the free kick. Moments later, the referee blew the whistle. Iniesta starts and runs. Shoot with one kick. Atletico's wall jumps high. Godin used his face to destroy Iniesta's arc shot. What a pity. Godin's height and bouncing ability are too strong. The football flew to half-court. Peak stopped the ball. He handed out a long pass of a foot to the ground. Chutian received the ball. From God's point of view, Barca's attacking formations up front are spreading. Atletico players also quickly returned to their defensive positions. He pushed forward with the ball. Neymar and Suarez immediately ran and pulled at the Atletico backline. Iniesta and Messi retreated. In just a few seconds, the three of them completed another exquisite cooperation. 3/2, past Cork and Saul. Atletico's two fixed needles, Godin and Jimenez, guarded against Suarez and Neymar, who were inserted in front of them. They were afraid of losing their position and did not move forward. Godin was experienced and stuck in Messi's breakthrough line. Messi didn't think much about it and passed the ball to Chutian. This moment. A golden line appeared again in Chutian's vision. Long-range shooting opportunities. 40 meters from the goal. No one is watching. He didn't hesitate. Stop the ball and make a slight adjustment. The golden line is getting brighter and brighter. Kicker. Swing your legs. Blast. Bang. Everyone heard the sound of the instep of their feet making contact with the football. Football is like a cannonball. Rub shoulders with Godin. Everyone was stunned at this moment. Watch as the soccer ball moves at high speed in midair. Blast into the Atletico goal. Electric Flint Room. Oblak judged the direction of the Yenwa teenager's shot. This world-class goalkeeper, a side jump. Reach out your right hand. The gloves touched the football. But the results have not changed. The power of Chutian's long-range shooting was too great. The football was just slightly offside. Drilled into the nest of the net. 3-2. The audience was shocked. It's another earth-shattering shot. Barca are leading again. Chutian opened up twice. Helped Barca through a cycle of victory and defeat. It was incredible. Yenwa's youngster, in a La Liga match, scored 2 long-range shots. What a wonderful and ups-and-downs game. Both teams have gone from trailing to equalizing to counter-scores. Xian was extremely excited. Never in his career has he been so excited. In front of the TV, countless Barca fans are crazy about it. Camp Nou, I haven't surprised them like this in a long time. Courtside. Enrique covered his mouth in surprise and muttered, "That's amazing." The magical Yenwa Jr., Winsu, and the substitutes cheered. The other side. Simone crossed his hands in front of his chest, his eyes dark and his expression dull. He made the perfect pre-match tactical setup. He made a timely change of position. But Barca suddenly killed a young man from Yenwa. Destroyed all his tactical ideas. The Atletico boss suddenly remembered a saying, football is all-encompassing, football is full of variables. Teaching assistant Boogers did not dare to speak. If there is no Yenwa Junior General, Atletico should be able to win this race, right? On the pitch, Chutian was surrounded by excited Barca teammates. Iniesta laughed and stopped the crowd. Don't scratch it, it's bad to make Chutian just like me. He pointed to his hairline. The crowd laughed. Messi reached out and clapped his hands with Chutian. Smiling, he said, "Thank you." The Atletico players held the ball and walked back into the center circle. There wasn't much frustration on his face. We are Atletico. Fall behind again. Then equalize again. Oblak rubbed his right hand. He looked at Chutian's back. Feel the sour numbness of your fingertips for a long time. This long-range shot of the Yenwa boy, the power is terrifying. Episode 72, Camp Nou belongs to the Yen people. Oblak's spike slapped on the knocking column. Shake off the mud. Chutian's heavy artillery shots made him sound a man. In the 90s, when Serie A defense was at its peak. In the era when 19 goals in that season you could win the Golden Boot in the league. There is a man who scores more than 20 goals per season. He's a Serie A goalkeeper's nightmare. Mars. Batistuta. CTV5 Live Room. The big screen kept playing back Chutian's goal, accompanied by Duanshien's commentary at Camp Nou. The audience was thrilled to see it. The results of the statistics came out. Chutian's long-range shot, the ball speed was as high as 124 km/h. This ball speed, powerful shot was very close to the long-range shot that Batistuta blasted Roma in 2002. Chutian's heavy artillery with great visual impact is long-range. It's Batistuta shot, groove, the combination of Xavi and Chutian. What a monster this is. Chutian is so awesome, his legs aren't very thick either. Why was it possible to kick such a shot? The more you look at it, the more you feel great. Chutian stayed. The game continues. Atletico, who are one goal behind, continue their tenacious high pressure. Some players are gradually physically weak. The action is somewhat distorted. This group of players who can play many 120 minutes of extra time in the Champions League, but under the pass control system with Chutian as the core, their physical strength is rapidly depleted. Gleachman was puzzled. Chutian's running distance is also not lost to Atletico players. Why does he look so relaxed? Barca also found the situation of their opponents. The pressure on the front MSN is greatly reduced. Iniesta also became more relaxed when passing the ball. Chutian gradually took control of the midfield. The whole Barca started to press forward. The horse was powerless to suppress, blocked, and could only retreat. The rhythm of Barca is back. It's a familiar script again, there is no resistance to high oppression. The Barca formation changed again to 4-3-3. Messi returns to the right. Busquets moved forward with the team and also pressed slightly, receiving Chutian's pass. Football travels back and forth between red and blue jerseys. Everything is so smooth. It's like playing a cheerful round dance. Tiki Taka recreates Camp Nou. Near the end of the game, Atletico players expended too much energy in the first half. They can't achieve local numerical superiority by running neatly to cause high pressure. At this time, Barcelona's art of transmission is reproduced. In the stands, there was thunderous applause. Barca fans covered their mouths movingly. Tiki Taka. Barca's art of transmission. It's been a long, long time since you've been seen at Camp Nou. Chutian kept running. It's all a touch of the ball. The whole Barca also pressed the horse in the big forbidden area. The situation of the game has become a position battle. Off the bench, the energetic Saul tried to steal Iniesta's football. But it was easily teased by the latter's fried balls. Carrasco and Gleeman, the two Atletico strikers, gave up the counterattack and participated in the close quarters of the defense of Chutian. However, he was turned around again and again by the Yenwa teenager to get rid of it. The Barca fans in the stands and in front of the TV were greatly moved. That Barca back. Chutian couldn't help but want to thank the Atletico players. It is the dense, high-level oppression of the other side. It gave him a deeper understanding of this aspect of the skill. Xavi's signature spin around in circles looks dashing and calm, but it also has a disadvantage, that is, when the attack is about to speed up, if the number of turns is too frequent, it will have a great impact on the rhythm of the team. He recalled Xavi's video highlights. When Barca attacked aggressively, Xavi turned at most one turn and passed the ball immediately after getting rid of it. When Barca need to slow down the pace to take the lead, especially in positional battles, Xavi will sneak around the opponent and turn 2 more laps, attracting the opponent's defense and creating opportunities for other Barca teammates. Although having a skill module. However, the details of the game and the rational use of skills still depend on Chutian's own understanding. The next game. The horse completely lost possession of the ball. Meanwhile, Chutian passed the ball to the ribs with each foot. They all scared. The line is perfect. Precise landing point. The right amount of power. The young man of Yengua is like a bullfighter with a sword and a red cloth in his hand. Atletico's backline is like an angry bull attacked by exhaustion. Test. Test. Strangle. The game came to the 75th minute. Chutian caught Atletico's gap. Sharp blades. After turning around again to get rid of Carrasco, Chutian didn't have to look up. God's perspective has already mastered all the information on the pitch. 1 foot against the ground straight plug. The football crossed Godin and Gabi, who were assisting the defenders. Like a sharp blade. The hole pierced the entire back line of the horse. The blade pointed to the right side of the penalty area. Messi beat the horse to kill. Oblak strikes. Messi kicked and shot. Football swept over the head of the goalkeeper. Drill into a dead end. 4-2. This goal is in. Messi broke the scoring. Barca lead by 2 goals. Chutian sent another beautiful assist. Chutian passed 2 passes and 2 shots. Do it alone. Make 4 goals alone. Simone glanced at the bench. Atletico have 1 last substitution left. Who else can I change? Who can save Atletico in the last 15 minutes? Bellotto? Martinez? The predatory commander shook his head. The game continues. Atletico have not made a change. Under the attack of Barca smooth clouds. Defeated. The Barca players played more and more smoothly. It was as if I was playing a training match. Only Ni Xiao suffered a lot and was always knocked down by the opposing Fran. Match 84th minute. Chutian's vision appeared a number of passing lines. He knows. Ma Jing's back line was already crumbling. The high intensity of pressure has caused most of the Atletico players to exhaust their physical strength. What supports them now may be the iron will. Jimenez pressed forward. Chutian knocked the ball sideways. He then sidestepped Saul's back and let go of the shovel. Iniesta received the ball and shifted gears to get rid of Cork. He didn't have to look up. Passed the ball directly to the back who had a tacit understanding for many years. Wonderful 2/2. Chutian received the ball. Tiptoe lightly. Looks like a shot. Substantive passing. Fooled Oblak. Suarez appeared below the football. The omnipotent, most technically comprehensive world-class center. Looked up at the ball. Made a shot that surprised everyone. He adjusted his position. Back to goal. Fly. Stretch the body. In the path where the football falls. Instantly, inverted hook and shoot. The ball landed heavily in front of the goal line and bounced into the net. 5-2. Cheers from the audience. Many Barca fans are trembling with excitement. This game is simply a visual feast. Suarez. Upside down, gold hook, Barca lead by 3 goals. Kill the game, Chutian assisted the hat trick. Suarez grabbed Chutian excitedly. Chutian, your pass is so comfortable. Then make a biting move. Chutian hurriedly took 2 steps back. It made Barca teammates laugh. Suarez. Be careful, your contract with the club says, no bites are allowed in Barca's matches. Alba. You're so nosy. I'm just expressing gratitude and appreciation. Courtside, Simone had already pulled Wensu to dance. The Barca boss laughed to himself, I don't seem to have done anything. Chutian helped Barca win the game. The media said that there was a dog on the Barca coach's seat. Wensu quickly interrupted, no, you've done a lot. The voice turned, you brought Chutian to Barcelona, didn't you? Haha. The Barca bench was full of laughter. The other side. Atletico rest area. Simone returned to his seat. Assistant coach Bugles wondered, Coach, why do you look so relaxed? Simeone chuckled, is it humiliating to lose to Barca at home to Camp Nou? Mater, Lao Tzu thought of this season's national derby, Barcelona-Real Madrid. Happy. That's just the papier-mâché backline that Real Madrid has now. Can you stand up to the Yengua teenager? It's not the end of the season, our three teams have a better goal difference. Bugal suddenly realized, Barca's bench depth is not enough, they have to fight on the third line. It's just the second round of La Liga. Simeone patted his old partner on the shoulder and laughed. The days are still long. The next time Barca visits the Camp Nou Stadium, I will not let them all retreat. The game continues. Nothing has changed. Atletico did not have a miracle. The referee blew the end of the game whistle. Barca beat Atletico 5-2. According to WhoScored's post-match ratings, Chutian got the highest rating of 9.8 points in the whole game. He single-handedly turned the tide. One person makes 5 balls. A hat-trick and assists at Camp Nou. 2 earth-shattering blasts. It was the most unforgettable night for the Yenwa players. Beautiful Camp Nou. Beautiful Barcelona. Xian's tone was flat, but he exuded an incomparable sense of pride. We Yenwa players can also stand on the La Liga field, stand on the pitch of Camp Nou, and show such a wonderful performance for the world. CTV Live Room. The game is over though. But the audience still refused to disperse, and the barrage continued to dominate the screen. Chutian. It's at Camp Nou. This game, it's really cool to watch. I can't put it into words. I haven't seen such a fierce and exciting game in a long time. Are you saying that the national football team and the Football Association are also watching this game? In the next round, Barca are playing against Real Madrid. Be sure to set the alarm clock. Stands. Barca fans have been reluctant to leave for a long time. They held aloft red-blue ribbons and flags, shouting at the black-haired teenager on the field, Chutian, Chutian, Chutian. Episode 73. Zidane was confused. Who was Chutian? Chutian raised his hands. Applaud the stands. Thank you to the Camp Nou fans for their enthusiasm. Broadcasts at the top of the stadium around the perimeter. It also made his name ring throughout Camp Nou. Best in the room. MVP player. Chutian. The official rating of La Liga Football Association and the score of WhoScored are not the same. The official FA rating is based on goals and assists. The WhoScored score is based on the various data of the player on the field. But in this game, no matter which scoring system, Chutian is the best MVP. The Yenwa teenager was immersed in thunderous applause and a sea of red and blue. Barca fans in the stands chanted. Heroes of Camp Nou. La Masia's child. Tiki, Taka's successor. They do not hesitate to pronounce all kinds of words of praise. Chutian is the first Yenwa player to be recognized by Barca fans. In the distance, countless reporters rushed to look at the human wall of the security position. Countless cameras were aimed at the Yenwa teenager. Camp Nou's security is far superior to that of Mallorca and the youth team. Only a few big media reporters were allowed to interview and were not obstructed. The other reporters could only look at the amazingly talented Yenwa teenager. Chutian glanced at it and saw a familiar face. Xian? Yenwa's well-known football commentator, at this time, was squeezed by the big fat security guards to talk down. He immediately greeted the Barca staff. Let the stadium security guard not stop his compatriots in the hot country. Chutian. Xian ran forward excitedly. He was so excited that Chutian recognized himself. It's time to give your own interview. Chutian shook his head, pointed to the sweat-soaked jersey, and smiled. I have to take a shower, no other meaning. I'm afraid you're squeezed and hurt. If you are interviewed, I welcome the compatriots of CTV5, go back and make an appointment. After saying that, he turned and left the law. Schwanchi was on the spot. Chutian is afraid that I will be squeezed and hurt? Chutian walked in the spacious players' tunnel. The system's tone sounds again. Ding. Congratulations to the host for winning La Liga and awarding match points ×5. The remaining match points of the current host are 11. You can open a lottery roulette. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission, conquering Camp Nou. Congratulations to the host for receiving the mission reward, Star Skill Card ×1. Star Skill Card, when turned on, you can randomly get a legendary Star Skill module. This harvest is quite rich. He's too involved in the game. Completely forget about rewards. Even the system forgot. Back to the locker room. Barca's teammates gathered around. Laughingly, he touched Chutian's head. Chutian. You kid is awesome. How can your fitness be so good? We looked at the full running data. Your running distance is one of the highest. Chutian smiled lightly and didn't explain too much. In the eyes of outsiders, Barca's game, Habibu always plays very easily, and the football is passed around and finished. Then break the door and it's over. As a matter of fact. At the peak of Barcelona, Xavi and Iniesta ran more than kilometers at every race. The art of passing is more than just passing. 2 core active runs are also needed. Roberto stepped forward. Haha, just now you were so fierce. If it wasn't for little Dennis pulling me. I'll go up and pick up the kid from Cork. When the U12 echelon was in, he couldn't beat me. Little Dennis wondered, my bench seat is far away from you, okay? How to pull you? Roberto blushed. How come you have so many words? Alba interjected, you will also say U12, U17 echelon, you are not as strong as Cork. That time you were knocked down by his punch. Right now. He's all 1 head taller than you. Roberto was displeased. It's all in the past. The boys at Atletico Academy are all hormone eating, and they are in a hurry. The crowd laughed. 3 teams in La Liga. Barca, Atletico, Real Madrid. From the time of the youth echelon, the young players began to look at each other unfavorably. Chutian smiled slightly, he did not question Roberto's words. Follow the timeline of past lives. A few years later, Roberto was suspended for taking Real Madrid's Marcelo in a national derby. Even a few years later, in the brilliant absence of Barca, Roberto became Barca's 4th captain, and Barca, under the pressure of third-line combat, let him lead the young player to the Copa del Rey. Chutian shook his head, squandering the memories of the difficult years of Barca. I'm here, Barca in the next few years, will be different. Any Xiao sat down next to him. He said angrily, I was bullied so badly by Fran, why don't you help me out? Iniesta laughed and said, you asked for it. Xiao Bai still has the second half of the sentence not said. If it were not for your boy's rainbow pass, Atletico would have a good opportunity to fight back, thus equalizing the score. Busquets ignored the noise around him, facing the phone screen, and was videotaping with his wife and children. Suarez patted Chutian's shoulder and smiled so hard that he revealed his front teeth. Little guy from Yengua, your pass is so wonderful. The last time you shot with such a comfortable upside-down golden hook was in the Dutch league. You know what? When I was behind, I really wanted to bite Godin. Although he and I are teammates of the national team, the crowd burst into laughter. Messi also walked up to Chutian. Held out a palm. Chu Tianxiao's consciousness returned a high five. The 2 Barca heroes who broke Atletico Madrid today laughed at the same time. Messi was silent for a moment and said, Chutian, you are very good, you have the ability to decide the game, you are the best young midfielder I have seen in recent years. Messi's tone was sincere. After 3 reversals, he believes from the bottom of his heart that Chutian's joining has changed Barca's prospects. More certainly, Barca with Chutian and Barcelona without Chutian are 2 teams. Chutian was slightly surprised. I've only heard others praise Messi, and I've heard Messi praise others. Rakitic sat in the corner, speechless. He sat on the bench and watched as Chutian turned the tide and participated in the creation of 5 goals for Barca. This moment. Gloomy, he seemed to be at odds with the warm atmosphere of the dressing room. Enrique knocked on the door of the dressing room. Chutian, follow me to the press conference. Iniesta took the lead and clapped. Teammates also stood up to congratulate. Chutian, congratulations. Camp Nou press conference scene. Enrique and Chutian, accompanied by security guards, stepped onto the podium. Media reporters squeezed frantically forward. A swollen and fat figure of a goose broke out. Mr. Enrique, I am Susan, a reporter of Land Sports. I would like to ask you, can Chutian's 3 consecutive highlight performances become the new core of Barca's future? Enrique nodded, looked at Chutian and said gently, thank you for your question, Susan. I confirm that Chutian will be indispensable to Barca this season. Susan seemed to have received a satisfactory answer. Mr. Enrique. I am a reporter for the Daily Mail. Did Chutian grow up in the La Masia youth camp? We know too little about his past. Why is his vision and passing so good? There is also the ability to shoot at distance. Is it also deliberately excavated by the Barca coaching team? Enrique smiled and shook his head. In the words of your media, Chutian is a gift from God to Barcelona, and I agree with this view. Long-range shooting capability? It had nothing to do with our coaching staff, and I hadn't even talked to him about the right to fire from long range. He practiced it himself. Chutian spends a lot of time in the training ground every day, and he is the boy who gives our physical coach the most headache. Another reporter stood up. Mr. Enrique, I am a reporter for Marca. What do you think of this game? Enrique pondered for a moment and said, we won. We scored 3 points against Ma Jing, a troublesome opponent. Simeone was a worthy opponent. We had a tough time in the first half, but in the second half, we made a response to Chutian and Messi. Iniesta led the team to victory. Subsequently, another reporter kept standing up and asked questions to Chutian. Chutian calmly answered their questions. On Camp Nou's turf, there is no cunning reporter like Mallorca. The other side. Madrid is more than 600 kilometers away from Barcelona. Santiago Bernabéu Stadium. A post-match press conference was also held. Zidane looked in a good mood. Show. Real Madrid, tonight, 5 o'clock, bloodbath the visiting Valencia. Cristiano Ronaldo also sat next to the Real Madrid manager, and in this game, he completed another hat-trick. The two sat on the stage with great ambition. A reporter stood up and asked, "Mr. Zidane, I am a reporter for Sky Sports. After 2 rounds of La Liga, Real Madrid has occupied the first place in the league with a goal difference advantage. What do you think of the current state of the team?" Zidane is full of confidence. This season, when it comes to rankings, it is still very early. Real Madrid are in good shape at the moment. We will grasp the goal difference advantage of the first place, maintain the lead. Real Madrid's substitute players are also very good. This season's third-tier battle, we will get all the honors. Say it. He glanced at a reporter with an Asian face and nodded. The reporter immediately stood up. "Mr. Zidane, I am a reporter for the Daily Mail. Barca just loudly played Atletico Madrid at 5:2. Their new signings. Chutian showed another highlight performance. What do you think of him? The next round is the National Derby in La Liga." Zidane frowned. Why mention Barca's players at our Bernabeu press conference? Chutian? Who is Chutian? Episode 74, Robert Carlos free kick? After this victory, there was no celebration party for Barca. Everybody knows. Real Madrid now have the advantage of goal difference and are at the top of the La Liga table. This season in the third round of La Liga, it has entered the white-hot stage of the championship competition, and the Champions League is also coming. The Copa del Rey was also shortly after. Barca will face a 3-tier battle. It has nothing to do with the strength or weakness of the opponent. Barca must come up with the best. Win the game. The first team quarters are close to Camp Nou. Chutian returned to the dormitory. The first thing is to turn on the system. Do you want to open the Star Skill card? Star Skill card opening. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Robert Carlos's free kick module, Gentetsu Ape. The back of Chutian's head was slightly numb. Running rhythm, power mode, arc trajectory, touch part. In this short moment, it melted into his body. Chutian was shocked. Carlos free kick? This legendary star is one of the greatest free kickers in the history of football. He once kicked a shocking free kick in 1998 and broke a trajectory that even physicists could not explain. It's called free kick miracle. Carlos's free kicks are always bloody. Synonymous with strength and domineering. Li Bashan is full of chi. In the 2002 World Cup against the Yen national team, he blasted a stunningly powerful free kick. The Yenhua goalkeeper didn't even realize the ball had gone into the net. That battle made countless Yenhua fans know Carlos. Jokingly called him Hercules' King Kong leg, Gentetsu Ape. Chutian was a little excited, eager to go to the training ground now, to try the power of free kicks. By the way, Carlos was also an important member of Real Madrid's galactic battleship. Ding, host current match points, 11. You can open a lottery roulette wheel. The feeling of harvest is blissful. Chutian's last draw, the drink with a 100% game status gain, and I haven't finished drinking it yet. This drink is a bug that allows me to maintain my fitness and form in Atletico's duels. The lottery roulette wheel is opening. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill card, Marseille Boomerang, Marseille Whirlwind? The back of Chutian's head was slightly numb again. This gorgeous personal getaway technique is incorporated into the body. He immediately began to deduce this getaway technique in his mind. Unlike Harvey turning around to get rid of it, Marseille Slalom does not have the ability to get rid of multiple people. But in one-on-one competitions, it is more efficient and will not affect the rhythm of the attack. Why doesn't it belong to the Star Skill card? Is it a notch lower than the Star Skill module? Soon. Chutian denied this idea. He recalls that the Marseille Slalom was Zidane's signature move. It is impossible to verify who the inventor was. Bringing this action to Europe was Maradona. After the development of information in the 90s. Carried forward by Zidane. And named after his birthplace. Call it, Marseille Whirling, Zidane. It's the current Real Madrid manager. Early morning in the hot country. One report after another about Chutian is once again popular throughout the country. Heroes of Camp Nou. Chutian was a god in the first battle, the highly anticipated race. Chutian alone made 5 balls, assists, hat trick. 2 shock shots. Yenhua Jr. conquers Camp Nou's one-man power. To make Herculean efforts to save a critical situation. Yenhua will reverse the Iron Blood Sheet Legion. Several of the largest short video platforms in China. It was also dominated by Chutian's wonderful collection. The official online account of the FA. Completely washed away. Banning Chutian has become Yengua's biggest joke this year. The lifetime ban has become a laughingstock in the history of Yengua football. FA building. 2 staff members pass by a luxury office. Whisper, did you hear that? The leader has not been to work for several days. I took a leave of absence, wasn't it because of Chutian? He doesn't dare to watch the news now. The last time I sent a message on my phone, he was scared and shivered, and he scolded me. Real estate team managers rarely come over? Normal, there are powerful netizens, pull out those black and dark trolls, and have a cooperative relationship with the public relations department of the real estate team. It's a real punch. If I become the leader of the football association one day, I must cherish a player like Chutian. Nonsense, this kind of good seedling staying in Yengua is harming him. You have to send abroad to play football. Don't come back and kick. It wasn't me talking nonsense. Another leader also said that he would invite Chutian to come back to the Yen Games. Tell him to roll. How many good seedlings from abroad come back to the Yen Yun Festival? CTV5 and the news channel also repeatedly broadcast Chutian's goals in multiple primetime slots. The whole country was shocked. Whether it is the big aunt uncle who got up early to watch Pigs and Pigeons, or a housewife watching a soap opera at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or a schoolboy who comes home from school and watches Grey Wolf, they were all shocked by Chutian's 2-foot heavy artillery long-range fire. This young man, really for Yengua's eyebrows. You see so many foreigners stand up and applaud him. When will CTV5 and the news network release the news of the players of the Yengua? This is the first time. Groove. Chutian was so hanging. It's a duel at Atletico. Not a fish belly Mallorca. It's so handsome. I don't watch football. The news today is always Chutian, Chutian, Chutian. It's really boring. Wow. This long-range shot breaks the goal. What a violent aesthetic. Barca against Real Madrid this season. La Liga National Derby. I must see it. I'm not dreaming. This year's Barca vs Real Madrid. We Yengua players are the main starting players. Meanwhile, Matador Nation. Barcelona International Airport. Xavi dragged his luggage and sat in the waiting area. The phone rang. Hey. Wong producer, what? I don't have to go back to Yengua so quickly? Why? A middle-aged man's voice came from the other end of the phone. Xavi, you stay in the Matador Kingdom. We got the broadcast rights to La Liga and the Champions League. You continue to do Barcelona's match live. And also, we CTV sent a film crew. I want to make a feature film for Chutian. After talking, it was decided that you would be the host of this feature film. Xavi was overjoyed. Make a feature film for Chutian. The first player in La Liga. No. He will be the first player in European football. This is of great significance. You can also become a host yourself. All of a sudden, he was completely unaware that the phone had slipped out of his palm. All over Europe. It is also full of replays of the Barcelona vs Madrid competition highlights. Premier League, Stamford Bridge Stadium. Mourinho had a grim expression and stared at the TV screen without saying a word. Press the power button on the remote control in your hand. He got up and walked a few steps, turned on the TV again, and stared carefully at the Yengua teenager on the screen. Bundesliga, Allianz Arena. Guardiola's expression seemed to have found the treasure, and he excitedly covered the door of his bright brain and muttered, Ramage's bastard son, Serie A, Juventus club. Allegri snuffed out the cigar in excitement and angrily exclaimed, what Harvey's successor? I think he's Pirlo's successor. This moment. The managers of many giant teams have obtained Chutian's information. Of course, they didn't want to poach Chutian. It's still very early before the transfer window opens. The Champions League is also just around the corner. The Yengua teenagers' highlight performance at Camp Nou. The entire European football world was also shocked. The Giants had their assistants find tactical information about Harvey from their dusty dossiers. Chutian. It will be their fierce rivals in the Champions League. On the other hand, they are all looking forward to this year's La Liga National Derby. Barca vs Real Madrid. See what kind of tactical plays Zidane will offer against this Barca team with a new soul. The next morning, Mino Raiola arrives at the Barca training ground. Short fat man with a big belly and poop. Whistling. It seems to be in a very good mood. Hey. My little genius, Chutian, I know you train so early every day. The little assistant hurriedly handed Chutian a dry towel. Chutian wiped his sweat. Puzzled, he said, Mr. Mino, did something urgent happen when you came to me so early? The short fat man smiled and said, that's a good thing. Good news. Fight for your endorsements. Audi and Nike both bid. Audi has proposed an annual advertising endorsement fee of £12 million. Nico has proposed £10 million a year, and if they sign a 10-year-long contract, they will give a total of £140 million in advertising endorsement fees. Chutian did not have any good feelings for Audi, a sports brand that smeared Yen country. Mr. Mino. I decided. Shoo. The short fat man held out his chubby index finger and smiled. Good boy, wait until after this season's national derby, will you tell me the answer? He picked up the ball and said, I think you're going to do something even more spectacular at the Bernabeu. We don't need to make decisions that fast, Chutian. You conquered Camp Nou, and I am sure you can conquer the Bernabeu as well. Chutian smiled and nodded. Mino Raiola is indeed experienced in dealing with brand cooperation. There's also news that I personally don't think is good news. Barca are relieved, they want to give you the 6th highest salary in the team, the contract is going to be signed for 5 years. The short fat man's tone began to slow down. Chutian shook his head, and his tone was flat. Think about corpses after a while. Episode 75, Football Night Special, La Masia's Hot Country Boy. Although Chutian is a Barcelona fan. But I also saw the end of Messi's tearful Camp Nou press conference. I can cut my salary by 50%, but Laporta asks me for free. Barca executives, like other clubs, are the vampires of capital. Messi eventually fell prey to Barca's new management in the game against La Liga. Go far away to Greater Paris. Barca is a good club. The interior of Barca's top management is chaotic, with a set of psychedelic operations. The club owes a huge debt in their management. The club's sky-high contract with NEC is only a verbal agreement. In the memory of a past life, Barca will experience unprecedented turmoil in the coming years. Bartomeu's series of operations made all Barca fans angry. He bought useless players, waged infighting against the locker room, and used his position for personal gain. It has wreaked havoc on the entire Barca club. Barca was not short of money at that time. But it became difficult. Corruption at the top is directly reflected in the arena. Rome 3 o'clock Barcelona. Liverpool 4 o'clock Barca. Catalan Derby, 2:2 Barca in the drop zone. In the end, Bartomeu and other high-level officials were arrested. But can the lost honor come back? Laporta, the honorary chairman who once helped build the Dream 2 team, the Dream 3 team. It was he who brought Ronaldinho to Barca that year. He returned to Camp Nou as the new president of Barca. But it also forced Messi away. Chutian made a judgment. The signing period must be shorter, and if Barca's top brass is still a mess in the next few years, maybe he can choose a new team later. My little genius, your judgment is wise, think about it later. Mino Raiola was instructed. The short fat man nodded. Chutian, I think the same way, the signing period is still a few years less than a few years. I have to go first, if there is any need, you can call me at any time. Done. The short fat man turned away with the little assistant. Chutian continued to train. There are still 6 days until the next round of the league. Plus 1 attribute point saved before, he can save enough 3 attribute points before the game. His current physical strength and ball control attributes have reached more than 80. Every boost above 80 costs 3 attribute points. It's night. La Masia building. Luo Xiao warmly received the CTV film crew. Guests from afar, welcome to Barcelona. Duan Xian couldn't wait. Mr. Luo Xiao, which district does Chutian live in? Take us to meet him. Roche stopped talking. Come with me. Subsequently, he took the CTV film crew to the training ground of the first team. Luo Xiao said as he walked, we arranged a house for Chutian in the rich area of the south coast, but Yan Guoboy insisted on living in the dormitory of the first team. Duan Xian was a little surprised. Maybe the first team's dormitory is more lively? A group of young people. Luo Xiao waved his hand. No, he lives alone in the dormitory, and the lowest paid substitutes in our first team all live on the south coast. The group soon arrived at the training ground. I saw the back of the sweaty black hair. Chutian was doing waist and abdomen training, and because he was too focused, he didn't notice that there was someone coming from the training ground. Duan Xian was surprised. So late, Chutian is still training? Rothi nodded and said, he lives in the first team's dormitory, just to facilitate training. The CTV5 camera crew was a bit moved. They thought that Chutian was extremely talented, but they didn't expect to train so hard, and so on. Duan Xian raised his hand to stop everyone. Let's not disturb him for a while. The staff was then motioned to set up the camera. Recording Chutian's training. The crew of the film crew looked at the slightly thin figure of the Yenhua teenager. I was also curious. Chutian didn't look very strong, and his lower leg didn't have that explosive muscle, so why could he always kick out a heavy cannon and shoot long range? Luo Xiao said, then you will have to wait a long time. Chutian's physical fitness is very good, generally speaking, wait for more than an hour or 2 hours before he finishes training. Duan Xian did not answer the phone. The film crew was a little shocked. Chutian's jerseys were soaked with sweat. It must have been training for a long time. It was now 9 o'clock in the evening, an hour or 2 later. Could it be that Chutian trained every day until late at night before resting? 2 hours later. Chutian was exhausted from practicing. Lying on his back on the turf. He turned slightly sideways and spotted several oriental faces and cameras in the distance. Duan Xian? CTV5. Duan Xian immediately ran forward. Chutian, hello, we want to do an interview with you this time. The tone of excitement is mixed with excitement. After saying that, he also took out his press card. Chutian shook his head and said gently, you don't need to look at any press card, your face is the best proof. He turned his head and greeted the Yenhua compatriots in the film crew. You've been waiting for a long time? Duan Xian smiled, we just saw you train so focused, don't dare to disturb. Do you have this amount of training every day? Chutian nodded, almost. Luo Xiao immediately explained, Chutian has always been this amount of training, get up at 4:30 a.m. every day, after the team training is over in the afternoon, continue to practice until the evening. If there is nothing else, I suggest you seize the time to interview. Don't interrupt the training plan of the little guy in Yenhua for tomorrow. The film crew was shocked. In this way, Chutian's training time in a day was at least more than 10 hours. How disciplined a young man in a foreign country must be to persevere, and the night breeze on the Iberian Peninsula is cool. Chutian shook hands with Duan Xian and sat on the turf. The dim light of the training ground elongated the shadows of the two. Duan Xian asked, Chutian, we want to know, as the first Yenhua player to join Barca, what kind of opportunity made you come to Barca? On the Yenhua network, there are many opinions about the reason why Chutian joined Barca, and there are all kinds of rumors. Chutian thought for a moment and said, thanks to the scouts of La Masia and Mr. Enrique, they invited me to Barca for a trial. Duan Xian nodded slightly and continued to ask, how did you feel during your days in La Masia? Do you feel lonely alone in a foreign country? Yenhua Jr. is only 17 years old today, and many Yenhua fans are worried about whether he will be treated unfairly or discriminated against in Europe. Chutian shook his head, no, I met a group of interesting teammates in the youth team, the same is true for the first team, the head coach and Messi, Iniesta, they are very good people, I will not feel lonely. Chutian's tone was flat, and he seriously answered Duan Xian's questions. I told me about this experience after coming to Barcelona. From trials to youth leagues. Let's talk about the debut of La Liga. Of course, he did not say anything about the ban of the Yen National Football Association and the domestic ban. Duan Xian listened intently. For a moment, I almost forgot the time. Until the night sky began to drizzle. He reacted. Sighing, Chutian's temperament and emotional intelligence are far higher than those of his peers. CTV5 doesn't ask messy questions. Not to mention anything too subjective. Therefore, the interview content of this feature film made Chutian feel very comfortable and a little warm. After coming to Barcelona, he rarely had the opportunity to say Chinese. Rosie was surprised to find Chutian, who is silent on weekdays, said more in an interview with CTV Tonight than he had said in more than a month in Barcelona in the past. Chutian's communication with Duan Xian was Chinese. Roche couldn't understand it at all. He couldn't help but sigh. Chutian was more enthusiastic in front of the compatriots in Yen country. It is also reminiscent of the old proverb of the East, he knows what he knows when he meets his hometown. It's not too early, so we won't disturb your rest for the time being. Duan Xian held out his hand to Chutian. The filming was over for the time being. To make a feature film, it is also necessary to shoot shots of Chutian's life. But Duan Xian felt that it was not appropriate now, because Chutian looked tired and could not affect the normal rest of a professional player. The film crew has stayed in the Matador country for a long time, such as this season's National Derby and the Champions League, there will definitely be a lot of wonderful material. Chutian shook hands with him. Then he waved goodbye to the crew. After finishing shooting, the crew boarded a business van back to the hotel. Tonight's Chutian left a good impression on them. The talented players who shine in La Liga did not expect to be so approachable and polite. The feature film is ready to be broadcast on football night. They're going to work overtime tonight to cut out this part of the shot first. Chutian is really hardworking, I have paid attention to him in Zhongyi before, and now he is far stronger than he was then. I have so much talent and I can train so hard. Haven't you heard that ironic remark? Messi doesn't work hard, see Ronaldo has no talent. The crowd laughed. I don't know what kind of height Chutian will reach in the future. Not surprisingly, he will definitely reach the heights of a player of the Yen nationals that has never been seen in Europe. Episode 76, The Bat Legion Strikes, Barcelona's Massacre? The interview with the feature film is just a small episode in Chutian's days in La Masia. He still trained in a step-by-step manner. The mood was not affected by the outside world at all. After reaching 80 years of physical fitness, the fatigue of training quickly disappeared. He was able to train longer each day. A week later. It's another match day. That's a fantastic match day for the fans. Chutian sat on the turf, his eyes closed, enjoying the morning sunshine of La Masia. He had accumulated 3 attribute points. Increased the possession attribute to 84. At this pace, he could definitely reach 86 possession before the national derby. Chutian thought about it for a long time, and he hadn't carefully looked at his player attributes for a long time. Turn on the system now and check it out. Offense 70, possession 84, passes 93, shot 70, headers 64, set pieces 68, arc ball 66, speed 76, foot strength 75, jump 63, body contact 76, stamina 80, defense 60, steals 66, goal 20, Harvey God perspective, Harvey passing module, Harvey God level get rid of, Batistuta heavy artillery firing module, Carlos free kick module, Gentetsu Epee, Marseille slalom. Chutian was slightly shocked. Unconsciously, Ziwei seems to be a little stronger. During these days of hard training, 2 or 3 attributes have also been increased by 1 point. After the morning training session, the Barca stars, in towing their luggage, boarded the plane accompanied by club staff. They will head to the 3rd largest city in the Matador nation, 350 kilometers away. Meet the 3rd round of La Liga, away to Valencia. Legion of Bats. On board the plane, Roberto shouted, "Alba, you're going home, are you happy?" Valencia's genius left back, Alba laughed and punched Roberto. He was loaned by Barca to Valencia for 3 years. And shines in the Bat Legion. Chutian, Iniesta, Messi's seats were next to each other. Chutian, I saw you practicing free kicks in the morning? Messi asked curiously. Chutian nodded. This morning, he tried Carlos's free kick skills on the training ground, and he had just arced to help him run, but before he could take a few steps, he was interrupted by the whistle of the Windui. Iniesta's eyes lit up. Chutian, your free kick skills should be good, right? This little guy from the hot country has brought too many surprises to Barca. Free kicks are extremely demanding on individual technique, vision, and awareness. Chutian thought for a moment and said, I am practicing. Iniesta began to think that Chutian's free throw level should be average, otherwise Enrique would definitely make him the 3rd or 4th penalty shooter. There are so many talents in this world who are proficient in everything. Messi smiled, depending on the way you run, it should be different from our free kick style. He has also been practicing free kicks in the past year, and has studied the running of free kicks and the way of shooting. Chutian suddenly remembered, Messi, it is from 15 years, free kick technology sword, practiced a very personal inner instep arc ball. It is an inner instep curved ball. Not an outer instep curved ball. Repeated goals scored in Europe. Barca fans even joked later, where to play, Messi simply kicked a free kick as a penalty. 10 years ago, Messi's total number of free kicks was 4, see Ronaldo was 30. 10 years later, Messi had 58 and see Ronaldo had 57. Messi smiled shyly, if you encounter any problems in the process of practice, you can communicate with us more, and the free kicks with less are also very good. Chutian nodded. Although Messi is introverted, she is very comfortable from her speech and demeanor to treating people and things. Rakitic sat behind the 3 of them. He watched angrily as Chutian and Messi chatted. Jealousy flourished in my heart. The person who should have been chatting with Messi and Iniesta should have been himself. Yengue Boy joined so much later than himself. But he can integrate into the team better than himself. Since the training session boycott, he felt his presence at Barcelona diminishing. Chutian looked out the window and overlooked the beautiful city of Valencia. The coastline stretches from the seaside to the mountains. The gravel on the beach is white and is also known as the Costa Blanca. Historically, the city was once a dry country. Name, Kingdom of Valencia. After the establishment of the Matador state, it was divided into an autonomous region. 10 minutes later, Chutian saw the home of the Valencia club. The majestic Mestalla Stadium. This historic stadium carries the honor of the Matador national team and Valencia. It is a temple in the hearts of Valencia fans. Barca's away challenge to Valencia will not be less concerned in the Matador nation than Atletico Madrid. Because Valencia is not a weak brigade. They were once famous in Europe. He has reached the Champions League final several times. Last season, the Bat Army finished fourth in La Liga, just 2 points behind third-placed Atletico. The owner of the club is a wealthy businessman of Yen descent. At the end of last season, he immediately sold a number of main defensive players and returned a large amount of money. For example, Manchester City's main centre-back Otamendi in the coming years. And then there's the upcoming one, Mustafi. Also Arsenal's main centre-back for the coming years. Leading to the first 2 rounds of this La Liga season against the weak teams, Valencia's matches ended in a draw. And the backline of both games is not the same class. Everyone thought it was going to be a good match day again. Barca's last 2 meetings with Valencia have not been very dominant. There was a draw, a 2-0 draw. This season's Valencia feels like a mystery. They also bought some demon stars from the Portuguese Super League. The new manager, Neville, is also the first coaching in his coaching career. The starters of the first 2 rounds were not uniform, and the tactical style was erratic. The plane landed quickly. Barca stars dragged their luggage out of the pickup gate. Messi, fans shouted Messi's name across the cordon. There were also many reporters holding cameras aloft. Suarez. Nils. Chutian. Chutian, who was walking at the back of the line, heard someone shouting his name with Chinese. He followed the prestige. It is a group of young people in the hot country. They wore Barca shirts and held aloft red and blue banners written Chinese. Chutian smiled and walked over. A young man with black-rimmed glasses said excitedly, "Chutian. We are students from the Polytechnic University of Valencia. Can you take a picture with us?" Chutian had heard of this school. It is the top science and engineering university in Europe and the first polytechnic institution in the bullfighter country. There is a saying in Yenghua, study in the southern hemisphere, just have money. To study in the northern hemisphere, you must not only have money, but also have some brains. There are still 5 hours to go before the race time. The club has plenty of time for the players to move. Yes. Chutian nodded. The international students excitedly stepped forward and stood behind Chutian. Their faces were filled with youthful smiles. Chutian passively stood in the C position, smiling at the camera. Click. In a foreign country. In this ancient city lined with bell towers. The young people of Yenghua left a picture full of youth. After taking the photo, the international student fans scattered, as if they were hesitating about something, and did not leave immediately. A small girl with a small figure and a round face handed over a Barca jersey and a pen and asked weakly, "Chutian, can you sign my name for me?" After saying this, she bowed her head and her cheeks flushed. Other international students were also looking forward to Chutian's answer. Yes. Chutian smiled and nodded. He will not turn away his compatriots in Yenghua. Besides, these international students are very polite. He quickly wrote his name on the jersey. Looking at the handwriting, I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. When I go back to La Masia, I must practice my signature. The round-faced little girl excitedly grabbed the jersey, kept saying thank you to Chutian, and then shouted at the companion behind her, "I got Chutian's signature." Chutian glanced at the other international students and smiled. "My teammates are all here, don't be so anxious to get back to the hotel." As soon as the words came out, the international students cheered. They all wanted to sign and take a photo with Chutian. Moments later, Chutian signed everyone's jersey. The number of international students is not large. There were only about 24 people. Coupled with the group photo, it didn't take much time. Chutian finally got into the club's commercial car and waved goodbye to everyone. Yenghua. The group photo of the international students and Chutian quickly became a hot search. The number of comments, the number of likes is hot. Chutian is so handsome. And there are no shelves at all. Chutian is a first-team star of Barca, how can he still drag his own luggage? What about assistants? What about bodyguards? Messi, they are also dragging their own luggage. Do you think Chutian is the same as the little rotten meat in China? I have never heard of any small rotten meat, going in and out with a lot of bodyguards and nannies, occupying public resources. The race is about to begin. Still holding the brush bucket sound? CTV got Barca's broadcast rights in La Liga and the Champions League. Hurry up, I wouldn't have watched the ball. Because Chutian. Just start watching the ball. Episode 77, The Bat Legion's Skybreaking Tactics? Mestalla Stadium. Pre-match press conference. Enrique sat on the stage. In the face of the reporters' crazy questions. Mr. Enrique, Yenghua youngster Chutian has shown amazing performances in 3 consecutive games. This time Barca away to Valencia, Do you think he can continue to be in a high-profile state? Will he still score goals and assists? Enrique opened his hands and shouted, "Your question seems to be very unprofessional as a football journalist. Chutian is a gift from God to Barca, and his importance in the Barca squad, whether he scores or not, assists or not. He is the soul of Barca transmission." The other side. Valencia coach Gary Neville was also asked questions from reporters. "Mr. Neville, Barca have won the European Super Cup, 2 rounds of La Liga, and this home game, what do you think of this game? Chutian, the new star of Barcelona, has decided the victory in 3 matches. Have you found a way to deal with it?" Gary Neville was not much of a British. He couldn't understand Spanish. The interpreter next to him relayed the reporter's question. Only then did he begin to laugh. "You Matador reporters don't know anything about me. Valencia has found a way to limit Chutian. In the past 3 years, no one has been able to sit firmly in Valencia's head coaching position. In 3 years, the club has changed 6 managers." Gary Neville, 46, picked up Valencia's coaching whip more like a coaching experiment. When he was a player, he was the representative of Manchester United's golden generation in the 92nd class. Is the captain of Manchester United. It's the big guy in the locker room. The fierce style of play has made Old Trafford the dream of young players. For example, the shovel cry Reyes incident. It was his first fate with the Matador Nation. After his retirement, he was a big boss worth hundreds of millions of pounds, a well-known commentator in the Premier League, and the owner of the League Two club. At this time, Gary Neville's face was full of arrogance. "Valencia will beat Barca at home. We'll limit their new Harvey, and the game will be easy, nothing to be afraid of. I played with Enrique when I was a player, and that time, I didn't lose to Barca." Inside the Barca dressing room, Enrique tapped on the tactical board and began to analyze the game with the players. "Valencia now, except for Paco on the front line, the lineup has been very different from last season, and they have sold the main backcourt players who were able to compete for 4 last season. Even in the first 2 rounds of La Liga, their starting list has been drastically adjusted by 3 degrees. Including their new manager Neville, who is also coaching the team for the first time. My impression of him as a player is rough and brutal. Dirty, we can't take it lightly. Chutian, this game is still up to you to control the rhythm." Speaking of which, the Barca boss looked at the Yengue youngster seriously. Chutian nodded. Rakitic sat in the corner, growing discontented. "In the last round, let me substitute. I can understand, after all, the opponent is Atletico. Why against Valencia? I'm still a substitute." CTV5 Live Room. The screen shows the welcome ceremony of Valencia's home stadium. CTV5. Friends from the audience, it is now broadcast to you the 3rd round of La Liga, Valencia versus Barca. I am Duan Xian, the commentator of this game. I'm He Wei. The game is about to start and we have the data on the current player list in La Liga. It's been 2 rounds in La Liga, and on the assists list, Chutian is ranked first with 5 goals, 3 goals ahead of second place Real Madrid's Modric. On the top scorer list, Chutian is 3 goals, tied for 4th with multiple players. The pass success rate and the number of threatening balls are ranked first in La Liga. Chutian. It is the pride of our national football, it is also the hope of Yengue football. Let's look forward to his great performance in this game. Inside the player channel. Both sides lined up. Get ready for admission. Valencia's players put on a fierce and vicious look and stared at Chutian fiercely. Chutian felt their gaze. He glanced at it lightly and ignored it. Iniesta turned her head and reminded, "Chutian, pay attention, Valencia's style of play is very dirty." Chutian nodded. Valencia's dirty name, he had long heard of. Even Valencia's backcourt lineup has changed a lot. But a club's style of play will not change. Like Diego Costa, he was iron-blooded during his time at Atletico, not necessarily during his time at Chelsea. Like Mascherano, he was in Liverpool and in Barcelona in 2 very different styles. Led by the referee. Players from both sides walked out of the aisle. Above the Mestalla stadium. Immediately Valencia shouts. This is known as the 2nd most beautiful stadium in Europe. The fans who own it are just as crazy. The referee of this tournament is Mestalla. He's Barca's nemesis. In the last 2 seasons, Barca have ended in draws in the matches he has enforced, and according to statistics, he has blown 4 goals from Barca and misjudged 2 penalties to his opponents. Mestalla is Valencian. The captains of both sides stood in the middle circle ready to pick the side. The referee tossed the coin twice. Barca won the kickoff in the first half. Moments later, the referee blew the game's whistle. The race is on. Messi kicked off and passed back to Chutian. Players from both sides began to run. After Chutian received the ball, Valencia striker De Paul, straight up, pulled out a frontal sliding tackle. Chutian swept the ball sideways and dodged it sideways. Possession attribute came after 84. Face forward players who are not strong in steals. He didn't even need to turn Xavi around to get rid of it. Subsequently, Chutian passed the ball to Busquets. The ball just left the foot. De Paul, who had failed to shovel, got up and slammed into Chutian's shoulder with force, and Chutian fell to the ground. His God perspective can only focus on the trajectory of the football on the field and the position of the players. Face this unreasonable foul. There is nothing that can be done. Beep. The referee blew the whistle. Gently warned De Paul. Muniola's scale today is very loose. If you change to another referee, De Paul's obvious action will eat a card. Drogba shrugged. Then he looked at Chutian viciously. Iniesta protested to the referee disgruntledly. The referee ignored it. The backhand signaled the Barca player to hurry up and send a free kick in the backfield. Chutian got up. Busquets passed the ball to Iniesta. Chutian hurriedly ran to the position, ready to respond. He just ran past the middle circle. Call. His back was hit hard. The whole person fell to the ground again. De Paul held his hands high and put on an innocent expression. The referee did not indicate. Iniesta kicked the ball out of bounds. Rushed to Chutian's side and inquired about his physical condition. Chutian waved his hand. Messi and Suarez rushed to the referee to theorize. This? Don't give cards yet? De Paul's first charge can be reluctantly interpreted as the confiscation of the steal action before Chutian's ball. The second time it was clear was to deliberately knock down Chutian. This law enforcement standard is very unreasonable. Muniella was in the last game to enforce Barcelona. When he faced Real Sociedad, Messi was also subjected to this kind of violation many times. Chutian stood up. It didn't look like a big deal. Xavi and Hiway's tone was a little worried. Courtside. Enrique frowned. Is this what Neville meant by limit? It seems that Valencia wants to disrupt the rhythm of Chutian in this way. Wensu protested angrily at the assistant referee. First warning. Why not give the cards the second time? The other side. Gary Neville smiled. Chutian was still a newcomer, and his psychology was definitely his weakness. Just like Arsenal's genius teenager, Reyes. In that game many years ago. The Premier League, which was still extremely loose in terms of law enforcement at that time. Talented teenager Reyes has helped Arsenal to an unbeaten run in 49 consecutive games. But in the 50th game, met Manchester United. Met Neville. The fierce Neville was literally beating Reyes with a flying shovel, and he went straight to Reyes's ankle flying shovel, not even receiving a red card. The talented teenager ended up in tears on the pitch. Thereafter, other teams in the Premier League have also begun to follow Neville's approach to restricting Reyes. This makes the genius teenagers increasingly afraid of the Premier League. Unconsciously, it also ruined his future at Arsenal. The Valencia manager, looking at Chutian on the field, couldn't help but think of Reyes. The smile on his face was even greater. Talented? My most hated noun in Neville was genius. CTV5 live room dress. The barrage flew up. Groove. Valencia is so dirty. Chutian, be careful. Is Valencia's striker so disgusting that he can't play well? The upper beam is not right and the lower beam is crooked. Their manager, Neville, used to be super dirty when he played football. I don't think this referee is a good thing. Sabid Paul, this kind of action. Don't give cards. The referee does not dare to be too arrogant. La Liga Football Association is watching. Episode 78. Robert Carlos-style free kick? Back to the game. In the last 10 minutes, the rhythm of Chutian's touching the ball was constantly disrupted. Valencia continued to make all sorts of unreasonable aggressions, from forwards De Paulo to Perez and Parejo in midfield. Either from the side of the body or the tackle with the foot. Chutian fell to the ground repeatedly. The body doesn't feel pain. Just felt a little annoyed. These Valencia players are experienced in foul play and have a good grasp of the power of fouls. The referee's decision was too lax. For Valencia players, Gudo was verbally warned. The game was interrupted by whistles again and again. No offense. No defense. The scene is very ugly. Thousands of Barca fans in the East Stand angrily denounced the referee's inaction, but this is not Camp Nou after all. The voice of Barca fans. It was soon drowned out by boos from Valencia fans. Chutian fell to the ground every time. The whole Mestalla stadium is booing. Don't put garlic. Oriental kid, little guy of Yenwa. Get me up. DePaul didn't use any force at all. La Masia Film and Television Academy. It's all this kind of actor, maybe he didn't act. Yellow-skinned monkeys are really vulnerable. Barca fans don't want to hear someone insult their new core. Do you Valencia want a face? Did your mouth eat cow dung from the Libyan peninsula? Dare to say that our Chutian is a yellow-skinned monkey. You Valencian white-skinned pigs, fans on both sides, began to spray each other. Fortunately, the stadium's home and away stands are somewhat spaced apart. No one started fighting. The stadium's security immediately mobilized personnel to begin protecting the stands of Barca fans. CTV5 Live Room. The picture also cuts to the stands. Although I can't understand what the fans on both sides are saying, the accent is very close to Spanish, which should be the dialect of the two regions. But then we can feel the enthusiasm of the fans. Very rich La Liga football atmosphere. Hiway explained awkwardly. Enrique stood on the sidelines and protested loudly to the referee on the pitch, Munuela, don't you see it with your eyes? This does not give cards. I'm going to complain to you, Wensu hurriedly pulled the Barca manager. That's the kind of thing. Instead, say it to the other referees. I must be eating cards. Referee Munuela stepped forward and also gently warned the Barca manager, Coach Enrique, I warn you once now, don't question my decision. Immediately, he blew a whistle. The game continues. Hey, how is Valencia's ball? Chutian, who was just overthrown by DePaul. The referee thought that the moment Chutian fell, he brought it to DePaul. This sentence is somewhat controversial. Valencia took a free kick from the back. The whole team began to pass the advance. They are also a team that focuses on passing. DePaul, Parejo, and Paco. The three passed in front of the court to cooperate. Other Valencia players also came forward. Football fell backwards in Barca's half. But they could not organize any attack. Valencia are also passing the flow, but their current players, the technical level is not up to pass control for the sake of passing control. The whole formation can't talk about Barca's hinterland. DePaul first of all, could not hold back. After receiving a pass from a teammate, he observed for a moment and began to break through with the ball. It's fast. The action is fancy. He wants to get past Mascherano. The body begins to shake. Feet swing on the soccer ball. All over the body, full of fake movements. Mascherano stood still and glanced at him. Then, as soon as he stepped out, he broke the football. DePaul is thinking too simple. This kind of fancy action is useless to the experienced Barca center-back. Mascherano is very skilled, don't look at him as a center-back, he played in the front when he was young. His footwork, easy to retract, clean defense. Mascherano didn't put his feet away. DePaul was brought down, no, his defense is clean. DePaul fell to the ground in pain. Mascherano raised his hand and made an innocent expression. The referee hesitated and did not blow the whistle. When Barca's center-back defended, it was the foot that touched the football first. He motioned for the game to continue. Mascherano walked over to DePaul and whispered, little fellow, you weren't weaned when I was playing at River Plate, were you? DePaul then remembered that the big brother of the Pampas Eagle country was a dirty big man when he was young. If you enter the national team in the future, you still have to look at the face of Big Brother. He immediately got up and dodged far away. The football reached Chutian's feet. Perez and Perojo rushed up again. Call. Perez buried his head and slammed into Chutian's shoulder. Chutian fell to the ground. Beep. The referee blew the whistle. A yellow card was paid to Perez. Perez was a little confused. Just now he was really confiscated. How is the referee's sentencing scale so confusing? The referee finally pulled out the yellow card. Chutian didn't have any serious trouble, and he quickly became afraid. Chutian quickly sent a free kick in front of the field and passed it to Iniesta. Messi and Neymar also began to retreat. The four passed back and forth in the front court. After Perez received a yellow card, other Valencian players did not dare to foul too obviously. Chutian and Iniesta frequently swapped places. The whole Barca team gradually resumed the rhythm of the game. Start passing forward. Valencia's new players are too average. Don't dare after a large-scale foul. Not Barca opponent at all. Barca's front court, under Chutian's control, was like walking a dog. DePaul, Perez began to run tired. Courtside. Gary Neville was somewhat displeased and unhappy with the players' restraint. He yelled at the side of the pitch, "What are you playing?" How like a herd of little sheep. The game came to the 19th minute. Iniesta received a call back from Messi. He was located 40 meters from the goal. In front of him is Valencia center-back, Santos. He turned the ball sideways. "I am preparing to use the fried croquettes to pass the people." Behind him, Parejo was anxious. Stumbled on Iniesta's footing. Iniesta fell to the ground. Beep. The referee blew the whistle. Walk up to Parejo. Yellow card raised. It was only in the 19th minute when Valencia received 2 yellow cards. Munula's law enforcement scale is too difficult to grasp. Chutian and Wei are commentators on CTV5. Don't dare to make statements that are too subjective. In fact, my heart has long been spitting on Valencia dirty, spitting on the referee confused. The game on the pitch side is equally intense. Enrique and Neville have a war of words. "Neville, you're dirty when you play." Did the coaching? Also take a look at the player dirty. "Enrique, do you have a face to say me? Champions League in 01 or 02. You're not dirty, Neville? Can you please stop being a? Don't keep talking about more than a decade ago. You Barca are like ladies, let your players play a little man. Don't just fall to the ground." Stands. Valencia fans clamored, "Iniesta. You soft egg, is it so easy to fall? How many minutes do you have to lie down? Barcelona, these ladies." It's acting. Mascherano, when he brought down DePaul, why didn't he give the cards? How not to give a free kick? Xavi referee. Valencia lined up a wall of people. Messi, Nesson and Iniesta stood in front of the free throw zone. "Let me try it." Chutian walked over to the 3 of them. Messi nodded. Iniesta nodded as well. Xiao said without hesitation, "Then you have to take me to play CSGO after the game." Oops, when communicating how to punish this free kick, Xiao didn't cover his mouth. Valencia's coaching staff should be able to analyze what he's talking about, right? Xiao seemed to be saying, "Then you hit the back point, the back point?" Barca's free kick was to be awarded to the far post. Xian and Wei were seriously analyzing. Meanwhile, the Valencian goalkeeper, Dominic, also directed the wall to move slightly to the left. The referee's whistle urged Barca to hurry up and take the free kick. Chutian took a few steps back. Chutian's usual foot is his right foot, and he wants to use his left foot to punish him in this direction of running? Could it be that Chutian is a left-right foot equalizer? Xian and Wei had some expectations. The barrage in the live broadcast room is also taking off. Chutian will also take a free kick? I've never seen him play a free kick. It's cover for Messi or Uchiha. Chutian has never played a free kick in the main game. I'm a die-hard fan of him. I've turned over his video in the 2nd division, and I haven't played a single free kick. In the stands behind the Valencia goal, Valencia fans erupted in boos. They put up their middle fingers at Chutian. Yan Guoboy wants to take so many steps back to help run? Want to hit the door directly? That location is 40 meters from the goal. Enrique's eyes were filled with anticipation. In the forbidden zone. Busquets, peak is ready. Chutian's long biography will definitely be able to find them accurately. Shot? It's 40 meters from the goal. Could it be that Chutian still has a free kick? The Barca manager looked at Chutian's way of running, his pupils shrunk, and his face was full of surprise. Chutian kept retreating. When it was more than 10 meters away from the free throw point. Start running. Everyone's eyes widened. So long running distance? How is his run in an arc? Chutian slowly accelerated. The way Carlos's free kicks were powered and where they were touched came to mind. Every step of the way. The greater the force of the left foot convergence. From God's point of view. There was an incomparably brilliant, radiant golden line lit up. Come to the ball. Right foot support. Swing your left leg. Shoot with one kick. Football is like a missile. Episode 79, Crazy Explosion. Chutian descended from heaven. After Chutian's long-distance arc assisted, he grabbed the circle with one foot on the outside of his left foot. Football is like a nuclear bomb. Hit the goal at high speed. And draw a strange arc. Over the human wall. Time seemed to stand still. Everyone was holding their breath at this moment, breathing. Open your mouth. The ball speed is too fast. Even the fans in the first stand on the sidelines looked down on the football, it was spinning at high speed. Goalkeeper Dominic. Nothing reacted. He only saw a dark shadow burrow into the goal. Subsequently, the whole door frame is shaking slightly. 1-0. The audience was shocked. Stunned. This goal is in. It's so beautiful. Shocking. Incredible. It's incredible, this ball speed. This power. This distance. This weird arc, Robert Carlos's unreasonable goal. A feast for the eyes. Aesthetics of violence. Duan Xian and He Wei were too excited. Even forgot to broadcast the score. A radio over the pitch shouted, "Goal!" The Valencia fans in the stands are only reacting now. Yengu Jr., a shocking and powerful free kick. Blast the door of their team. They were quiet. The entire Mestalla stadium, only the crazy shouts of Barca fans. Chutian. 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 In the 21st minute of the game, Barca took the lead. Messi, it took less than half a day to ease up. They stepped forward and surrounded Chutian. It was amazing. It's a nuclear catapult, right? How many unique skills have you boy hidden? Honestly. The Barca players were immersed in the joy of scoring goals. Courtside. Enrique looked sluggish. Oh my God. God has given Barcelona so much. Unbelievable. Unbeatable. Wonderful. Chutian's left foot. Wensu was shocked. Coach. I think Chutian's name should be added to the list of free throwers in the team. The other side. Gary Neville's eyes were filled with confusion. Seemed not to believe what was happening in front of us. Yengu boy, when did you have such a free kick? Isn't his dominant foot his right foot? Finished. Finished. Valencia's goalkeeper, too frightened to move, took half a day to ease up. It turned out that the black shadow was football. What is the power of the shot? Will you be able to play this ball speed? If I get such a free kick in the head, I will become an idiot, right? Terrible. It was horrible. CTV5 Live Room. Switching perspectives, Chutian's shocking nuclear bomb free kick was played back, countless fans in front of the screen, shocked. Even if you watch it 10 more times. Equally shocking. Chutian's ultra-long distance running. An arc-shaped running trajectory. Lift your left foot and grab the circle with one foot on the outside. Football is like a nuclear bomb. Crashed into the goal. Also turned a corner in front of the wall of Valencia. After the break. The ball was still glued to the net for several seconds. What a power. The results of the data report came out. Chutian just took a powerful free kick, the speed of 149 km/h. The same speed as Carlos in the 2002 World Cup, the free kick that broke the Yen national team, the same speed. It was definitely the best goal in La Liga this round. Oh my God. Chutian's right foot had Batistuta heavy cannon burst. There was also Carlos' nuclear bomb free kick on his left foot. The dense barrage began to dominate the screen. Awesome. Hercules' leg reappears on Earth. Gentetsu Epei, what other moves will Chutian have? Can you take it out at once and let me see it? Chutian is a monster. His legs are not as thick as mine, why can he kick such a powerful shot? Another free kick in front of the field, the goalkeeper and the human wall on the opposite side will cry. If I get hit in the head by this ball, I think I will have a concussion. Valencia goalkeeper, coach, I don't want to be a goalkeeper. The 2002 World Cup of the Yen national team? I wasn't born yet. The game restarts. They were one goal behind. Don't dare to do too much foul action anymore. Someone fell to the ground. The game will be interrupted. Interrupt. It will delay time again. Neville yelled angrily from the sidelines, what else is in there to prevent Iniesta from doing this old guy? Prevent that young Yengu boy. He's even more threatening, keep an eye on Iniesta's players. Immediately turn your head to help your teammates defend Chutian. In their hearts, the coach is right. The threat of the Yengu teenager is even greater. Iniesta's pressure plummeted. After receiving Chutian's pass. Start the game breakout. Reached the opponent's halftime right-hander. Santos stepped forward to grab it. Iniesta flicked the ball to the left. In an instant, he flicked the ball to the right. Pass Santos. Santos could only look back helplessly and look at his back. Then he remembered that Iniesta was the player with the highest success rate in the 5 major leagues. What a simple and efficient way to pass, without a little superfluous action. Last season's injuries and Xavi's departure, Iniesta had to take on more organizational tasks, making people gradually forget the offensive features that Barca midfield is best at. Parejo and Perez chased after each other. Gaia also blocked Iniesta's passing space. Doesn't Iniesta pass the ball yet? This ball is going to be lost, right? Iniesta slowed down. A flash of inspiration. He flicked the ball. The body moves to the left. Dodged Carrejo's feet from behind. The next moment, he pushed the ball back to the right with his left foot. Avoided Perez's shovel strength. Finally put the ball in a bucket. The ball drilled through Gaya's crotch. A short moment. Iniesta has already rubbed shoulders with Gaya. Is this a premium version of the fried croquettes? Wonderful. Iniesta's ability to combine balls is very strong. In just a few seconds, the defensive guns of 3 people were dissolved. Messi's figure appeared in the middle. Iniesta understood. La Masia's tacit understanding is on display at this moment. The two were like playing a training match. Easily complete a wonderful 2-over-2 match. Teased Valencia's backline. Wonderful. Messi has come to the forbidden zone. Football comes to Messi's feet. Messi is facing the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper Dominic waited tightly, trying to block the angle of Messi's shot. Messi speeds up. A change of direction. Just shake past the goalkeeper. Face the empty door. Messi pushed straight. Broke the goal. 2-0. The ball was scored. Wonderful, perfect small range fit. Messi broke the scoring. Helped Barca extend their lead. The game lasted only 24 minutes. Barca have scored 2 goals, the Valencia fans, completely silent. Barca showed greatness. It's desperate. On the side of the stadium, there are only a few thousand Barca fans in the stands, cheering. Forca Barca. Vamos Barca. Their voices did not resemble the landslide tsunami at Camp Nou when they were home. But it resounded throughout the Mestalla stadium, which can accommodate more than 60,000 spectators. The Barca players celebrated wildly. Iniesta walked toward Chutian. Chutian was a little surprised. This goal was nothing to me. Iniesta said slowly, "Thank you, Chutian, for your arrival has liberated me, because of the arrival of the Yenwa teenager. Only then did I find my best way of playing." Enrique smiled and closed his mouth. Neville's face was livid. He can succeed in anything he does. When the head coach of the club, he was also satisfied at the beginning, and he thought that the first 2 rounds of draws were just a necessary stage that needed to be run in with the team. The game plus the second half, there are more than 60 minutes left. I am Manchester United 92 golden generation. I've witnessed many, many reversals. How can it fall here? He looked at the bench. Let Mustafi replace Santos. Chutian glanced at Valencia's substitute players. It's a bit familiar. Remembered. It's the Mustafi who will land in the Premier League next year. In the next year, he will join Arsenal for a transfer fee of 35 million mirrors. Called by the media a chariot countryman who has not played in the Bundesliga, Chutian smiled slightly. Howduan paid attention to his heart. Mustafi is super defensive. But there is a big drawback. I like to break the siege. Loves to kick the ball out of bounds. Edgy. This kind of defender player is not much of a threat to Barca. Barca already have a 2-0 lead. The game continues. Valencia's midfielders have shown a downward trend. Paco, the most scoring striker, has only touched the ball once in the last 25 minutes. When the ball is tee-off, Chutian began to control the game. Tiki-taka recreates the Mestalla stadium. Everything in the game has become very simple. Valencia's new centre-back, Mustafi, is very brave. His ability to steal and intercept is very outstanding. Several times the threatening pass that undermined Barca. Barca's left-back, Alba, was annoyed. Always have to go out of bounds balls. Time passes minute by minute. The score did not change. Still 2 o'clock. During this period, Chutian still sent out a few exquisite long passes and straight plugs. Only Ni Shao hit the pillar twice. Alves hit the crossbar once. Injury time ended in the first half. The referee blew the whistle for a long time. Episode 80, Bloodbaths. The Bat Legion. Chutian becomes the new soul of Barcelona. The Barca players had a relaxed expression and returned to the dressing room. Teammates surrounded Chutian. Excitedly, he asked, "Chutian, when did you learn that powerful free kick?" Suarez pointed to the TV and was surprised. "Look at the replay. This terrifying power is Robert Carlos's free kick shot." Alba quickly took his phone out of the cabinet and searched for Carlos's video. Then faced the TV screen. Chutian and Carlos, the two began to synchronize. Exactly the same boost. Exactly the same foot punch. Cool. Chutian. Little Dennis stuck out his head. "Chutian, can you teach me this trick?" Roberto hurriedly pushed him aside. "Teach you? You're on loan at Villarreal soon. Can you learn this little body?" Chutian smiled helplessly and could only explain, "I have been practicing, but it is not very good. not every time I can kick out 100%, this time it is just good luck. Messi patted him on the shoulder, don't be so modest. I shall poked him in the shoulder, say yes, the free kick made you punished. Take me to CSGO, at the end of the game, the other side. Valencian dressing room. Gary Neville's face was livid. The players bowed their heads in frustration. You rice buckets. Get your spirits up. Only a few of Mustafi's players who could understand English lifted their heads. Most of the other Matador national players could not understand English. And Neville's accent is heavy. As for why Enrique was able to fight with him, it was because the Barca boss's girlfriends were all British. This is our home stadium. We want to win. My substitution in the first half worked. Mustafi, you're doing great. Didn't let Barca score again in the remaining 20 minutes of the first half. I'm Gary Neville. I was a right back in the golden generation squad of 92 Manchester United. I've witnessed too many reversal miracles. In the 1999 Champions League final, United scored 2 goals in the final injury time. Reverse Bayern to win the title. You guys are my players. You must also have the fighting spirit not to accept defeat. Second half. We're going to reverse the score. Beat Barca. Gary Neville, eyes full of confidence. Mustafi nodded seriously. De Paul and Perojo glanced at each other. He whispered, reverse a fart. Barca today is as strong as it was in the dream 3 days. De Paul, what the are you muttering? A 15-minute intermission ended quickly. The referee blew the whistle for the start of the second half. Munuela looks a little physically bad and his refereeing career seems to be coming to an end. The Valencia players look scrappy after 15 minutes of adjustment, especially Mustafi. The new coach, Gary Neville, should have made tactical changes in the dressing room and boosted morale. Neville shouted at the pitch, you little sheep. Be fierce. Rush. A press. The Valencia players began to press wildly. But for Barca players who experienced Atletico's high position in the last round, Valencia's predation is really a sheep. There is no such thing as Atletico's terrifying coordinated running, the oppression of regional joint defense. The Barca players played with ease. Chutian controlled the rhythm in the middle of the road. Face the chaos of the rush. Take one's time. Precise delivery with one foot. As a result, the chaotic Valencia midfield began to crumble. Mustafi, who was sitting in the rear, did not dare to come forward easily. From God's point of view, Valencia players stand and run like an amateur team. It's a mess. In this loose formation of the other side, Chutian transformed into the elf of the stadium. He kept running. Each time it magically appears at the end of the teammate's pass line. It seems that any enemy on the pitch has him. Pass control plus running. Barca pressed Valencia into the big box. Valencia's defensive line was collapsing rapidly. Mustafi is alone. He is defensively strong. But the ability to read the game is far inferior to that of partner Otamendi, who has already been sold to Manchester City. This new army formed in Valencia was like a bowl of clear water, stirred up by Chutian. Everyone felt that Valencia had lost the ability to reverse. The rest of this game is expected. It's just what kind of wonderful way to expect Barca to score. Earlier shouted and scolded yellow-skinned monkey, the home fans of the La Masia Film and Television Academy closed their mouths. The Yenwood teenagers on the pitch ran with destructive passing controls, shattering their hopes of victory. The combination of pass control and running. The more Chutian kicks, the smoother he goes. The whole Barca team is also playing more and more smoothly, pleasing to the eye. Football is like Barca's 12th man, the art of passing and running is incredible. Barca fans in the stands. They pressed with excitement. Quietly watch this game. I am afraid that making a sound will make the ultimate transmission control on the field aborted. The game came to the 60th minute. Mascherano glanced at the situation. Bigfoot-long passes from the backcourt. Barca are playing more and more easily, and the little Margot has also picked up a big foot, which is a rare way for Barca to attack. Last season, Enrique experimented with this tactic. The ball fell straight into the penalty area. Suarez competed with Mustafi for the top. No one expected that. Mustafi, who has excellent defensive ability, actually started 2 seconds late and did not compete for football. Suarez is fully capable, and his height and bouncing ability are equally outstanding. He didn't choose to shoot himself. Gave the ball to Messi. Messi, on the right side of the penalty area, received a header from Suarez for the point. Inside the penalty area, Valencia's players moved to the right. There is no angle of the shot. He kicked back. The ball rolled to the top of the arc of the big penalty area. Exactly where Chutian was. No one is watching. Chutian didn't even have to look at the golden line in his field of vision. On the left side of the Valencia goal, no defenders. He adjusted his position slightly. When the football is about to roll in front of you, take 3 steps forward. Lift your right leg. Lean your body to the left. Turn around. Power. Call. Chutian's instep smoked on the soccer ball. It was like breaking the hearts of Valencia fans. One kick blast. Batistuta heavy artillery shot. Football off the ground. Overwhelming. As fast as a shooting star. Crash into the goal. No arcs. Nothing has changed. Straight to the top left corner of the goal. Brusque. Tough. Goalkeeper Dominic looked horrified. It's this kind of heavy artillery bombardment again. He even instinctively wanted to dodge. Football burrowed into Valencia's net. 3-0. Chutian's long-range shooting killed the game, and it's another domineering violent long-range shooting. I can't put words to describe his magic, the Valencia fans in the stands sighed in unison. This Yenwa teenager is so shocking. Courtside. Neville looked lost and sat back in the coaching bench in the rest area. He held his head in both hands. Barca killed the match, 3-0. When he was a player, he never easily conceded defeat. Now from the perspective of the coach, I feel frustrated. On the way back to the middle circle, Suarez tugged at the sleeve of Chutian's shirt and smiled. I really want to know what your muscles are made of, why you can kick more than 2 bursts in every game. Chutian hurriedly smoothed the sleeves. The game continues. Time passes minute by minute. Valencia was beaten to the point of no return. Barca passed the football unhurriedly. Even the referee doesn't need to run much. Just stand in Valencia's half. The same goes for the trimming. It's just when must be done with Mustafi's big feet. Raise the flag in the direction of the out-of-bounds ball. Most of the home fans at the Mestalla stadium have already begun to leave early. Several previous angry sprays, yellow-skinned monkeys. Valencia fans of the La Masia Film and Television Academy looked embarrassed and did not say a word when they passed through the Barca fan grandstand aisle. The game came to the 90th minute. Chutian suddenly began to speed up the rhythm of the entire team. The ball moves quickly back and forth at the feet of Barca players. Valencia's backline was in disarray. Messi alone attracted multiple defenders. The hinterland on the left side of the other party is exuberant. Chutian received a knockback from Iniesta. Mustafi rushed up. Chutian did not immediately choose to pass the ball. Cut the ball on the outside of the foot and turn around. Directly pick and pass. The football swings at high speed. The trajectory is like a rainbow. Crossed the Valencia backline. Fell to the left side of the penalty area. Lift your feet less inside. Volley. 4-0. There's no suspense in this game. It's Chutian's assist again. He created a massacre of the Bat Legion. Barca ended the match early with a crushing posture. The Bat Legion that once shocked European football was eclipsed in front of the young people of Yenwa. Injury time ended quickly. The referee blew the end of the game. Barca beat Valencia 4-0. Barca players teamed up to thank the fans in the stands. They came from afar. At one point, he endured insults from home fans. Several journalists crossed the defensive line of security personnel. Rushed to the front of Messi and Chutian. Next month is the National Derby. Messi, are you confident of beating Real Madrid? Congratulations to Barca on their 3-game winning streak. But on the other side, Real Madrid beat Celta 3-0. Your two teams are points and first. Real Madrid still has the advantage of goal difference. Chutian, will you conquer the Bernabeu?